I realized that I've done a video now on how you can print a pattern, a complete pattern out on multiple pages, and also how to create a pattern that looked like this where it was folded. And the reason I did this is because it's really hard to get these two sides to be exactly symmetrical. But I forgot to leave out the part where you actually create the full version here. So here's how you do it. It's really fast. I didn't copy over the snap placement, but just assume that you've got your snaps here, or you can wait till the very end and then add your snaps in on the completed diaper. I highly recommend, though, if something you really want to be symmetrical, to put the snaps on first. So maybe put one here, and then when you copy it, you'll keep it in the same relation. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to make sure it's exactly the right. Okay, so we've got here a pattern that you could cut on the fold. You can do the duplicate function, Control D here. And there's a couple of buttons up here that let you manipulate the orientation. And so I'm just going to flip it across the flip selected objects horizontally. There you go, horizontally. And I'm going to line them up. Now, an easy way to do this would be to line it up either really close or again on the 0, 0 point and make sure that you've got them just right there. Either way, we can zoom in now and go over to this midpoint here. Most importantly is to get them so that this line lines up with here, and even better is if you can get them just overlapping. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out again. And here's what you do. You select one of them and you're going to go to Nodes. If you click on the center line here, it should highlight both of the node endpoints. Alternatively, you can click on one node, hold down Shift, and click the other. Either way works. And now we're going to manipulate how the nodes are connected. So this one is what we want. Right now we have two nodes that are connected and we want to delete the segment between the nodes, but we want to keep both of the nodes. And even though it doesn't look like it did anything, now they're separated. And now we can click over to the other half and do exactly the same thing. One other way you can select nodes is that you can draw, once you've clicked on it, you can draw a square to select the two that are involved, although that didn't do it with this one. But you can do that, especially if you're getting into tight spaces, like if you only wanted to select this node and it was getting difficult, you can try it that way and try to get only one of the nodes completely surrounded. Okay, that didn't work too well. But the easiest is to click in between and then remove it. Okay, so now we have what looks to be a complete pattern, but if we go in, again, see, tiny little hole there. And in fact, if you click on one of them, you can see that it stops there, and you click on the other one, it's a completely different object. I can move one of these farther away than the other. So the way to join them is to click one line, hold down Shift, click the other line. Now both are highlighted, and now you can select both nodes, and instead of joining or breaking apart a line, what you want to do is take two nodes and make them into one node. You can also do two unconnected nodes to have a line in between, but then you have two nodes really close to each other. I think it's just better to combine them to one node. And there you go. Now it's one node. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and do exactly the same thing. Select the two, make them into one, and now your object is completely, sorry, let me zoom back out again. Now you have an object that all moves together. It's one object, and you know that these two edges are exactly symmetrical. One further point I wanted to mention is that if you drew your pattern without seam allowance, but you later realize you want seam allowance, the way to do that is to duplicate your pattern, Control D, go up here to Path, and it has two functions. It has inset and it has outset. And what this does is it moves the entire object out just a little bit. And you can do this multiple times, and you can see slowly but surely the pattern's just getting bigger. And whenever you decide what your seam allowance is, like this looks to be about 1/4 of an inch, you should check it out more accurately. Then you now have two patterns. You can also change, say, the internal one. You might want to be a solid line so you know that you're going to cut it. Maybe the external one should be dotted or vice versa. You can do that with your object fill and stroke. And you want to change the stroke from a solid line into some form of dashes. And it's really hard to see because those are really tiny dashes. Let me see if I can get bigger dashes. There you go. And so now I have an exact replica of my pattern offset. It looks like there's a little bit of a problem right here with it doing the dotted line, but for the most part everything is perfect all the way around. You can also do the exact same thing with your pattern and then set it in. So if you have the seam allowance version but you want to draw a line around of where you should sew, you can do an inset as well. And that's that.